Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving up a beautiful day to come inside and play with us. So this is something new. We've never tried this model car show and panel discussion. What do you think? Is it a good idea? Yes. I think so. I think it's gone really well after a day and a half, and I'm personally really excited about the enthusiasm of our exhibitors and the folks who've come to visit us. So maybe we'll do it again.
I think we should.
I think we should too. So thank you very much again. Before I go any further, I need to tell you that the school is working on the auditorium roof today. So there may be some pounding and there may be some smells, I was told. But don't be alarmed if that happens. We haven't heard anything yet today, so hopefully maybe they finish their project and it won't be a concern. So I want to make some thank yous to the school, of course, as always, for supporting our projects by letting us use this wonderful auditorium. To the village board, who loaned us tables that actually took an act of the village board, which was fun. Your tax dollars at work. Carol Bauer, our favorite caterer in the world, gave us the tablecloths. And then our exhibitors, without whom this would not be possible. Oh, I forgot someone, the most important person, the guy whose idea this was. Where's Al? Al Islahard. Clap for him. This was his idea.
Great idea, Al.
I thank you very much for that. See, we listen. So, so our exhibitors are in alphabetical order: Dick Buck of Geneva, Classic Model Cars, or CMC USA of Rochester, Rich Chernosky of Keystone Cards in Sayre, Pennsylvania, Tom Clark, Oswego, New York, Chuck Franzese from Watkins Glen, Bill Green from Watkins Glen, Tom Gunshannon from Larksville, Pennsylvania. Al has some things. Al lives in Wolcott, New York. Rich Latin of Montour Falls, New York, Jim Scaptour, Watkins Glen, Frank Spina of Elmira, Jan Vandenblink of Elmira, New York, and Dave Wild, one of our speakers, from Fairport. And I'm just going to step away from today real quickly. May 10th is our next event. We'll be talking about Formula 5000. That's the car on display. The owners of the car will be talking about the car. And we're very, very excited because at least at this time, Sam Posey, who drove that car, will also be here. So that should be another special day among many, many special days at the Racing Research Center. So JC Argesinger is going to be our moderator for the panel discussion. I'm going to turn the mic over to him and enjoy.
Well, I just want to join Glenda and welcome you to Watkins Glen on this beautiful day. This starts the 67th season of racing in Watkins Glen, and it starts our 17th season as the Racing Library. Now, many of you are regulars here, and you know that we're a nonprofit organization. We function like a public library, although we receive no public funding and no governmental funding or corporate funding, but it's people like you. This is my PBS moment. It's people like you that keep us going, and we certainly hope to be here in another 17 years. Now, this program, which has been suggested by Al, I think is one of our most exciting programs. We've been doing programs of speakers and films for about 12 or 14 years, and this one is unique. And we are very delighted that so many exhibitors came out and that CMC came out. And as a matter of fact, the co-owner of CMC is here, and I'm going to ask our panelist, Anthony Madison, to introduce him. I believe he's out there. James, are you out in the audience?
It's James Zhao, our co-owner. Our accounting manager, William, is also with us today.
And James, we're delighted. Each one of those is a masterpiece. And I was talking to James earlier how they go around to the museums where some of these unique cars are, and they do laser measurements, but they're absolutely magnificent cars, and we're delighted to have them. And everyone else who has automobiles here, we all love them. I get excited about it, even though I'm kind of jaded. about automobiles, but I did get goosebumps when I saw all these model cars here. And we are going to have a panel discussion, and we're going to ask Dave Wild to introduce himself. He's a longtime supporter of the Racing Research Center, and he comes down for just about every event we have, which are kind of every 2 months. But Dave brought quite a selection of automobiles, and I really want to ask him and ask the other panelists how they first got involved in this. Dave.
Thank you, J.C. Glenda wanted a little background from us. I'm a retired electronics engineer, mostly military electronics, and I worked on the 57 atomic bomb tests in New Mexico, the electronics package for the F-111 fighter, and some spooky stuff for some unnamed organizations. I got into collecting not really models so much as toys from my collection. I started collecting from the 30s, actually. And if you're looking for a reason for why we do this, maybe it's because that I'm one of the children of the Depression era, and we kind of hoard things, maybe. I started collecting in the 30s as a child. Some of the toys that I have on display there are things that I played with as a child. And my wife and I are antique dealers as well, and normal antiques and primitives. So we were in a position to find a lot of toys that other people had, and I just started collecting them. That's about it, what I have. I'm a little intimidated by master model makers that may be on the panel here. My main thrust has been in the toy area, and I'm very much appreciative to see the CMC models here, and I lust after most of them. Thank you.
My name is Rich Jernowski. I own a retail store in Sayre by the name of Keystone Cards. And you might say that I was probably destined to own a hobby store, although 25 years ago I didn't think so. But my parents owned a paint and wallpaper store in Towanda, and they pretty much kept my crib out front, which is why I was destined to own a store. But part of the store had some hobbies in it. My dad was a little bit fascinated by that, and I was just naturally attracted to it. And I basically started out my modeling career the way a lot of kids in the 50s did, which was with ships, tanks, and planes. But I soon, there wasn't really much to hold my attention. There wasn't a whole lot of information on them. And I think my first trip to Watkins Glen Race in 1961 pretty much cemented my enthusiasm for cars. And by 1962 or 3, I had gravitated towards model cars. If you saw my display, one of my very first model cars in there was a IMC Ford GT40 that I purchased in 1963 or 4, built it, and still have it. And since then, I've gone on to build many, many more. I've spent pretty much most of my life around the hobby business, either hanging out at hobby shops or owning them. This is actually not my first hobby shop I've owned, although, to be honest with you, Keystone Cards doesn't sell model car stuff, although I had a neighbor that did, and we also have another hobby shop in Sayre, so, and we work pretty close, so it's something that I've been involved in a long time. I also run the model car concourse d'elegance during the Watkins Glen Vintage Festival, and I usually bring a bunch of my pieces up there. I have about 60 some of the completed pieces on display in the library right now, and be happy to answer any questions about them to anybody later on. My career spans about 51 years of building, And I must say that my first one doesn't look like my last one. So it's been a good, enjoyable ride. I've really enjoyed it. What's in my case is not just a bunch of model cars, but I prefer to say a lot of memories. There's a lot of people here that I know, and there's a lot of memories in my case, and I'll be happy to talk about any of those anytime. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tom Clark. I'm the designer and builder of the 1/8 scale models that are over in the research center. Started building models as a kid, like most little boys did. Quickly started working on race cars at the Oswego Speedway. I think I was 17 years old when I built the first body panels on a race car up there, and still do that to this day, working on race cars, building body panels. That's how the first car came about. The winter of 1994 and 95, I was going to change the body on the car, the way it looked and the overall way I built it. So came up with the idea to build the chassis, put the body on with poster board, then transfer that to the real car, and that's how that came about. And I did it at a large enough scale so it would be, easy to work on, easy to see the changes. And someone suggested that I finish the car afterwards, and I knew there wasn't much out there that I could buy to finish that car with, so I would have to build everything from scratch, which was quite an undertaking. I was able to measure the car from front to rear and just start building every part that was on the car. Try to stick with plastic most of the time. Use aluminum, brass, whatever I can, whatever will work for the situation. I then went on to build the other cars and currently working on the rear engine car of Jimmy Champine's that ran at the Oswego Speedway back in the late 70s. And that's the final project that's going on right now. And I guess that's it.
My name's Anthony. I am the sales and marketing manager at CMC. I got into model cars about 2.5 years ago and was looking for a job to move closer to my family and found the sales position at CMC. Went online and checked out their website, and I looked at the cars and saw how neat they looked, and went in for the interview, and they had them out on display in the office, and I was blown away. I went to SUNY Brockport as a history major, so that I got to see the history of these cars, and that really drew me into working for CMC. And so learning more and more about the history of the cars and what they're made. Our company, primarily, our focus is historic race cars, vintage automobiles with some kind of story or background behind them, whether they're race winners or we've got a couple best in show winners from Pebble Beach. But that's how I got into it, and I've already got my son started. We're collecting Hot Wheels cars now, so we got him started already. He's only 2, so he'll be up here sooner or later with 50 years of experience behind him, hopefully.
Well, I know the audience has some questions, but I'd like to lead off myself. That's one of my privileges here. I've got to have the microphone, and I'm going to hog it, but I did want to ask Anthony, I'm delighted to know, I didn't realize CMC was right here nearby in Rochester. Do you have a showroom up there?
Yep. Our showroom is in Henrietta, right on Jefferson Road. Our company is actually headquartered in Stuttgart, Germany, right down the road from the Mercedes plant. Thank you. We handle North and South America distribution for the company. There's also the German office, which is where our headquarters are, and we also have an office in Hong Kong. All the engineering and everything is done in Germany. They find out how to measure the cars, how to scale them down, and then our factory, which is in China, actually hand assembles the models at that point.
But if we went up to Henrietta, could we see a lot of models on display?
Oh yeah, you'll see all the ones that are out there, plus a few more that we didn't bring. We try to bring the ones that we have. You guys are mostly interested in race cars, so we brought as many of those as we could. There's a couple more street cars that are in our office. We also have a 112 scale shark nose that we didn't bring. It's pretty large, so just like the 118 scale, but just a larger version. But definitely all the ones that you see here, plus some more.
Well, James told me he wanted his own personal bird cage, but you've sold out of those?
Yeah, we have quite a few different models that we have. Almost all the ones that are over there are in stock or will be re-released in the near future. Like the birdcage is going to be re-released. We're also going to make the 1960 Cuban Grand Prix of the birdcage, so another version of that one is going to be available. But just about all the ones that are over there are in stock. There's one or two that are limited editions that won't ever come back, but for the most part, everything is in stock.
Well, that makes me very happy because I have a bird cage there. Somebody tried to come in and buy it, and I had no idea how valuable it was, and I said, no, that's a personal item. We're not going to sell that. But I want to move on here. I wanted to ask Tom. You brought your models down a couple of days ago. You know, this show goes through Sunday, and we had a lot of people in here yesterday and people in this morning, and I can see why we've only got about 70 people here today because it's a nice day. But we've had a big crowd throughout the last couple of days. But you were one of the first ones to bring yours in. And how do you make the brakes and the hubs? I thought you must have bought those in a kit. And no, I was told, Kip told me that you actually make all those little pieces.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're building those cars, the scale that they're on and the type of car they are. You can't readily buy parts that, to go on one of those cars. So as I explained, I went through the actual race car, measured every part, made basic drawings and sketches, put the dimensions on the drawings, and then started making all the parts from scratch.
Do you have a mold or something to do that? Do you use one of the drums?
The first few cars, I did everything by hand from scratch. The two later cars now, I have got into resin casting. So there's a lot of the parts on the rear engine car which are resin cast. There's a lot of parts that are similar between all the cars, and I've got quite a few molds made up now for the brakes and brake rotors and the engine block, the cylinder heads, the rear end housing. I do have molds for all of them now, so it's quite a bit easier making them than building them all from scratch like I used to.
Well, now your cars are set up near the front door. That is the Decatur Street side. So take a look at them. But what is the one that you have that's just partially built that you can show it? You can see exactly how you construct it.
Yeah, the car that's in progress, that is the model of Jimmy Champine's 1979 rear engine car. I started that back in July of last year, and I've got that far on it. That car has went quicker than any of the other builds that I've done in the past, and I've probably got maybe another year onto it. Depends on how much I work on it in the coming summer. The basic things left are the wheels and the tires, and then some other small things, but it's pretty much done.
Well, you must have a very patient wife and family.
Yeah, sometimes not. They take me. The other cars took me. The first two took me about 3 years to complete over that time frame. The second two took me quite a few years longer. They were like 7-year builds. There was times when I went 6 months or so without touching them. Without other things got in the way, and they're a long, slow process.
Well, Kevin, is Jim Scaptura here? Can I tell a story on him? One of our local fellows who I know who is a hobbyist, and he said, well, early on, he said, well, I'll just bring all my cars down. That'll be a show. And we said, no, we want to get a lot of different people. And I said, how many cars do you have? And he said, oh, about 800 at home, and I've got some others. And I said, does your wife know this? I mean, I've been to his house, and they're all tucked away nicely. I'd never seen that many. He said, don't worry. He said, they're worth between $800 and $1,200, so she tolerates it. When I'm gone, she'll have a nice little inheritance there. But I think that probably, like the big cars, you have to have a patient spouse. But I also wanted to ask, before the rest of you get in here, Rich, now tell me where your store is.
Actually, I'm right on Keystone Avenue in Sayre. Basically, Sayre, Athens, and Waverly is laid out in a triangle, and I'm just about dead center in the triangle.
Are you open most every day?
Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday. So we might call down or just go down Wednesday through Sunday.
They're just coming down.
And can you locate cars if we've got an interest in getting a particular car?
No.
No.
There's something you have to understand. Keystone Cards is my business,
I see.
okay? It's mostly sports cards and things like that. My hobby is building model cars. So
Oh.
if you come down, the cars are on display, don't get me wrong.
But you don't sell those babies?
I don't sell them. I don't sell them. All of my cars are in what I affectionately call the museum, which is my shop in the basement. The basement covers as much square footage as the store floor has. So, but it's not unusual for me to take somebody down and visit the museum. It's easy access. So if somebody wanted to come down and visit the museum, I'd be more than happy to take them down.
Oh, good.
We don't build them to not show them to people.
I see. Well, that clarifies that. I thought maybe you were selling them retail. We do sell some over at the center. From time to time, people do give us model cars, and we'll have them on display for sale. But when they venture into my office and they want to buy them, no, those aren't for sale. Well, Dave, yeah, go ahead.
It's the same when they go down my basement,
Yeah,
okay?
they want to buy one.
Nope.
Well,
Those are mine, get your own.
I've got a couple unrestored big cars in my garage that people want to look at, and I say, no, I'm not going to let you look at it because the next thing I know, you'll want to buy it, and I don't want to sell them. But Dave, one car I was kind of interested in, it's the 1952 Indianapolis Winter. Is it Parsons' car?
Well, that was, it's a Japanese-built model. Right after the war, the U.S. kind of decimated the machining capability in Japan, and they went into building, with the remaining machinery, they went into building toys. And that particular one is one of a number of models of the 1952 Indy 500 winning car, the Agajanian Special, driven by Troy Ruttman. There are 3 variations of that particular toy, and it was built by Yonezawa, which is indicated by a Y and a circle somewhere on the toy. The first one carried the Agajanian Special name printed on the hood, and they unfortunately did not get permission to use that name, so those are quite rare. The second version is now labeled Champions Racer, which is what the version is that I have there. The third version was a little bit smaller in scale, but about the same, almost the same size. The current version that I have there, Champions Racer, there was one sold at auction about 2 years ago for $3,500. I would imagine one with the Agajanian original name on it would probably be in the area of $5,000 or so. Those are really quite rare. Brock Yates, I know, had one at one time. I don't know if he still has it or not, but that's where those go. There are 2 other unusual ones there, the MGTD in white and a light greenish blue. My wife tells me I'm colorblind, but it's light blue Jaguar XK120. Those are made by Dopke Manufacturing Company, D-O-E-P-K-E. They only made 2 automobiles in their complete selection. Everything else they made was construction equipment like bulldozers and drag lines and so forth. But those are quite rare, and the TD was quite popular, but the XK120 was quite rare. And those were sold at the actual car dealerships in kit form in a big box. So, the boxes are important as far as the toys go. If you find a Japanese toy, a tin plate type construction, the boxes are generally quite well lithographed, and that actually can double the value of the toy if the box is in good shape. Thank
Now,
you.
how do you define toys and models? What's the distinguishing mark?
Boy, that's a tough question. Certainly the CMC models are beyond toy
Well,
level.
that's clear.
It depends on the detail. There's a Tonka toy there that I have still in the box in the cellophane that is quite accurate and almost of museum quality, but it doesn't have the detail in it that the CMC models have. So that could be construed as a toy, but I think it's too nice to play with. A lot of the collection that I have there is stuff that I played with as a child, or some child played with. And some of it shows some wear, but by all means, if you find a toy with a box that's in good shape, save the box.
Well, what is your thought about people restoring them? Are they worth more if they're unrestored?
That's another interesting question. I just last year picked up a kit of a three-wheel Morgan, a plastic model, probably about 1/18th scale, and it's still in the box, in the cellophane, and I'm really tempted to take it out of the box. It's worth more with the cellophane on it, but I think I'll probably give up and try and build it. But that one is not a toy. It would be too fragile to play with. But most of my collection reflects my experiences in racing back in the 50s and 60s, and I like to collect the toys that represent the kind of cars that I had raced against or raced with, or so forth. I raced an MGTD and an Alva Courier, and I have both of those cars still. So, thank you.
Well, I have a lot more questions, but I don't want to hog this microphone, and I know those of you out in the audience may have a question or two, and if you ask, yes, sir, and I'll repeat it so it'll be on the film. What was the question?
I have a small tin-type open-wheel race car. On the bottom it says, made occupied Japan. Well, my question is, how old, does anybody know how old that would make that car?
The question was, he has a tin type that says made in occupied Japan, and he wonders what year it would represent. Anyone here on the panel care to venture an answer?
Immediate. That would be immediate post-war. As I mentioned, their ability to build almost anything in Japan was very difficult right after the war. There wasn't much machinery left, and Japan was buying a lot of scrap metal from us. And some of the tin plate toys you'll find inside still the lithographed Coca-Cola or Pepsi or something like that. And I think I saw the little model that you had the other day, and that would have been probably late 40s, early 50s build. Obviously, it had been played with, too.
Any other comments on that? Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
No, I haven't done that yet. And at the last model car show I was at, there was a gentleman who had built a dirt modified. And a lot of the stuff he had on the dirt modified was from a 3D printer. The engine block and some of the other assemblies were he had done with a 3D printer. And I just saw, I think it was a couple of days ago, they're advertising a 3D printer for $200 that'll make a 4x4-inch figure. So that might be something I might look into down the road.
What kind of material will it make it out of?
I'm not really familiar with it. I'm not sure what it uses.
I think it's a plastic, like piece of wire.
You are?
The material they use is something called wren shape. It's used by a lot of the industry. It's real easy to carve, and it holds a good form. So wren shape is the material that they use.
And the printer will print that out, the 3D printer?
Oh, cuts it easily.
I'll be darned. Well, I just heard on the radio they're talking about hearts, human hearts, that they think maybe in 15 years that they may be able to use the 3D printers to make hearts. So that's incredible. But it sounds like it's a fairly reasonable price. You can get a 3D printer?
3D printing is kind of new, and it's a little bit out of the realm of most of us modelers because it's in its infancy and it's a little on the expensive side. And then there's some of us that just still love to carve it ourselves. So we prefer, the materials that we've grown up with and know how to use. So it's a little new to us. We may embrace it 10 years down the road. We really don't know.
More questions? Yes, sir. And well, I'll repeat the first question for the camera here. First one is, how many years before you realized this was an all-encompassing sport that just took up your life? I'm paraphrasing that. And the second question, Kip, is well, the first question, of course, was for Rich. The second question was for Tom. Are there any models that you would like to make of the Oswego cars and were not able to make, or maybe the owners have prevented you from copying them? So why don't we go to first to Rich, and you can answer when this became your obsession.
Kip, I'd say that was from day one. And I wouldn't, there's a lot of us that don't call this a hobby. We really do call it a sickness. But I would venture to say that from day one, from the day I first built that IMC Ford GT40 till right now, I've stuck with it. My son often says to me, he says, "You're the only person I know that's had the same damn hobby for the last 50 years." So I hope that answers your question.
Well, I think a lot of us in this room are. I one time stood up and I said, "Hello, I'm JC. I'm an MG-aholic." And we all are caught. Here we are on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and we're inside listening to model cars. It's because we love automobiles, so we understand your sickness.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is one car that, on my radar that I would like to do someday. The car ran at Oswego from the mid-'60s to the mid-'70s, and it was affectionately known as the Little Deuce. There was a number of drivers that drove it, Ronnie Lux, Bentley Warren, Warren Conium, among others. And the car last ran in Oswego in 1974, and after the International Classic Labor Day weekend, it was put back in a garage in Buffalo, New York, and the car has sat there ever since. And there has been some people to try to get access to it. The original builder, Howard Purdy, is still alive, and kind of suspicious of people calling him, wanting to see the car, wanting to look at it. But that is definitely one of the cars I would like to build sometime in the future, if I can get access.
Kip, did you have a third question?
I had a question for Anthony, and that was, if he could give the audience kind of an idea, I spoke with one of the other gentlemen at the center, what the length of time is and the process involved in, determining what model the company is going to make and market, how is that decision made, what the lead time is, Detroit cars, they're penciling in cars from 2016, et cetera.
Well, the question is, what is the lead time for the CMC cars, the design of them and putting them into production, deciding which ones they want to do, and also are there any American cars that are in the wings? Anthony?
The American one, not yet. We are a German company, so they've primarily been focused on, or actually all of them have been focused on European makes at this point. But we keep pushing them to make it an American make. Hopefully, we'll wear them down sooner or later. The development process, it can vary. I've heard the average is roughly about 18 months start to finish. If you saw the transporters over there, James said that it took about 3 years for the entire development on that. So it's definitely a process. They start by determining what kind of cars they want to make. A lot of research goes into that, trying to find cars with some kind of historical value, whether, like I said, if it's a race winner, maybe had a famous driver, different things like that to actually choose the vehicle that we're going to make. And then they try to find the actual car if it exists so they can get measurements for it. We also work with the manufacturers directly to get the information, blueprints, any kind of measurements they have, their expertise as well, because they want to see the best car we can make as well. So we work really tight with them to develop the cars. Once something's picked out, we have modelers that make a hand form, almost like what Tom does, a very detailed, larger scale model to work everything out, get it to where they like the shaping, everything is good. Then it goes to the engineers to scale everything down and then bring it to our factory, which produces the dies. And then it goes to the production line where James said it takes roughly about 18 hours, 18 man hours to actually assemble a model. So, and it's all hand assembled. The materials we use we try to use the best we can, stainless steel, alloys, copper bodies for some of our models as well, genuine leather for the seats. So they try to get it as accurate as possible, and it takes a little bit of time.
Thank you. Of course, you're in Stuttgart, you're near Mercedes, and I understand you have a great relationship with Mercedes. Do you do many Porsches?
So far, we've only done the 901 for the Porsches. Mercedes was one of the first ones to get us started. They actually had a really great relationship with us to let us get a lot of information and access to the cars to do that. So the Porsche is always a possibility of more in the future, but so far it's just the one. But we have made 5 different colors of that one, so if you want a little variety of the Porsche, you can.
Great. Any other questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Photographer.
For all of the panelists, whether your creation or someone else's, what is the most remarkable model you have ever encountered?
Well, the question is for each one, we'll start with Dave, what is the most remarkable model that you've ever encountered? Dave, now that's quite a big question. It's like saying which is the most beautiful car you've ever seen, or except for your wife, who's the most beautiful woman?
Well, certainly the detail involved in the CMC models and so forth is excellent. There are some large-scale models that master model builders make. I've seen a 4.5-liter blower Bentley and probably about 4 feet long that is just absolutely gorgeous, and that's right up there on the list as far as I'm concerned. But
You probably have all seen that YouTube of the 1930 J. Duesenberg that has an engine that runs. I don't know how the man ever built that, but it sounds like a Duesenberg.
That's kind of an interesting question. I've seen an awful lot of models. I've seen the Duesenberg that runs. That's good. I've also saw a Ferrari 312B that a guy spent half a lifetime building, and that also runs. It's got a flat 12 engine in it. Although I have to say, from my personal experience, just from building, I currently have on my bench a 112 scale model of an Enzo Ferrari that's going to turn out quite spectacular. And as far as, you know, my building experience, that would be the one for me. Tom?
Probably, I've gone to quite a few model car shows, and what gets me every time is the guys that are building the 124 scale, the, you know, model cars 8 inches long or so, and particularly the NASCAR kits, and they don't miss a thing on one of those cars. And I'm just blown away as to how they get every detail on a car that small. I would never attempt to do something like that.
Mine was probably the bird cage you guys saw over there. When I came in for my interview, we didn't get to bring it, but we have a display that actually shows every single part of the bird cage, and it's all laid out on a white background in the real nice case. And like I said, I looked it up online when I first applied for the job and saw the models online, but seeing all the parts and just seeing how detailed it was, I was blown away when I saw that, and just seeing it all laid out it just looks really neat. And the one that isn't ours, we go to Pebble Beach every year, and there was a modeler from the Czech Republic that was there that made, I believe it was a Bentley, and it was in, I want to say either 1/8 or 1/10 scale, and it was just a huge model. It was all hand done, and this guy must have spent forever making this model, and it was beautiful. It was just an amazing model.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Follow up with one more comment about Howard Purdy's White Dukes.
Yeah.
I saw that car with a feature driven by Jimmy Winks last week.
Yeah, I believe Jimmy Winks was the last driver that drove that car.
That was the White Deuce we're referring to?
Yes. The last time that car competed was the 1974 International Classic at Oswego, and I think that was Jimmy Winks in the car, and I think it dropped out with motor problems. And like I said, they took it home to Buffalo, put it back in the garage, and it's sat there on the trailer ever since.
And by the way, my grandfather used to buy his street cars from Howard Purdy at his Ford dealership in the town of Towanda.
Yep, that's where it is, up in Tonawanda. Yep.
Was it that Purdy dealership that built up the car originally? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Very brief. Silly question, but a comment for Dave. Years ago, and I think I still have it, it was a wind-up pin-type car. And obviously it was probably made and occupied in Japan. But on the bottom of it, it said made in USA. Somebody looked at it and told me that there was a town in Japan that changed its name to Yusa, so that they could print on the bottom. Apparently, they didn't want to be known as made in occupied Japan. Down there. Is there anybody else actually
I have seen some USA country or town labeled models like that. Yes.
the guy wasn't kidding me?
Apparently, their civil construction, when we were trying to help Japan rebuild its economy after the war, they played a lot of games on getting permissions and to use things and marketing and that type of thing. Certainly, the Axis couldn't be allowed to go back into building munitions right after the war. The feeling was such that they just couldn't do that. But the civil affairs units had to rebuild the economies of both Japan and Germany. And I'm sure this is where this type of thing came out, is as far as marketing goes and so forth. But yeah, that's interesting. I did come across some of that kind of thing, yes.
And that, of course, was a town called USA in Japan. So say made in USA when it was in fact made in Japan. Any other questions? Well, this has been a great audience, and go back and look at those cars. Restrain yourself. Don't put any in your pockets. We do have law enforcement all over the place. It is tempting, but they are beautiful, and we thank everyone who came down. And we're certainly glad that CMC came down in force and been very, very informative. This show is going to go on tomorrow, so if you have any friends who have not been here today, tell them. Tell them we're open on Sunday. Thank you very much.
We're looking at, in this display case here, a combination collection of Jim Skaptour and mine, Bill Green's, of all the cars that Briggs Cunningham either built or owned other than what was his name. There's a Corvettes in there, there are D-Jags, there's a trailer that Jim put together, the Ferrari that John Fitch finished in second in the Queen Catherine or the Seneca Cup in 1951. There's a couple pins which I got at the Cunningham reunion last fall at Lime Rock, along with a hat. And we have the stock Cadillac, which is on exhibit along with the Le Monster. Those cars ran in 1950 at Le Mans. And we have all three of the C4Rs, the K and the two, the K is the coupe, and the two Roadsters, C2Rs, and C6R, C5R Cunningham cars, along with the Corvette, one of the Corvettes that he raced at Le Mans. He didn't, but he was the manager of. And one of the little Oscars that we have here, and pictures of both the Le Monster at Watkins Glen and on display at the Collier Museum, along with the C4RK at the Collier Museum. Pictures through the Glen, the BU Merc, which was here in 1948-49, and also down below is the C5R, C6R, and the stock Cadillac. So that's what Jim and I put together, and we've got some more, but we didn't have much room left after we put this in. But anyways, that's Jim Skaptour's and my collection on Briggs S. Cunningham.
All right, well, my collection, what I brought here today, mostly focused on General Motors cars and General Motors powered road racing cars and Mario Andretti cars. So in this first case here, some cars of note, the Allard, which was Cadillac powered, which unfortunately was involved in the famous accident here at Watkins Glen, which ended the races in the streets. The car on top was a midget that was driven by Mario Andretti. It's very famous. He won 3 races in one day at 3 different venues with that car, and also made his road racing debut with that car at Lime Rock. Those are mostly 143rd. Some of those cars in there are hand-built. Most of them are resin and some die-cast as well. And there's also some HO scale cars on the back side of the case. In this case down here, these are mostly slot cars. The modern 132nd scale slot cars are very detailed. They've really come along in the last few years. Very nice models. Significantly here, most of these cars raced at Watkins Glen. The number 50 Ferrari 712M raced Can-Am here. That was Mario Andretti's car. And then the number 85 Ferrari on the bottom, Mario and Jackie Hicks shared it to win the 6 hours at Watkins Glen. The car on top, which has gotten a lot of questions, that's a Tamiya kit. It's a plastic kit that I built myself of John Surtees' Lola Can-Am car from 1968. And then over here, these are mostly Spark cars. Spark's a company out of France. The cars themselves are made in China, but the company's headquartered in France. They do excellent resin cars that come pre-built. Some of the cars in here are hand-built cars. Particular note is Old Yeller 2, a very famous car from the late 50s, early 60s. And Elliott Forbes Robinson's turbocharged Buick V6, which ran Trans Am 1984-85 range. And then, of course, the Porsche 91730, which is a die-cast from Exato, which, of course, won the Can-Am up here at Watkins Glen in 1973 and won the Can-Am Championship, known as the most powerful road racing car of all time. And that's quite, obviously with no body work on it. You can see all the detail that's underneath. So that's just a small piece of my collection, and glad to share it and share my passion for General Motors powered road racing cars.
This is a bunch of street cars that I made. Of particular interest in this case are the two XKEs, because one XKE is made by one company and the other one is made by another company. So it's two different companies' take on the same car. This one here, I saw a truck running down the street painted just like that. So next day, got a model car painted that way. These are some of my exotic cars, in particular Ferraris and Porsches, and there's an Aston Martin there. Of real interest here is this Porsche 944 because I owned a real one. A lot of us build model cars because we want to own the real one. I'd love to own a 288 GTO, but that's as far as I'm going to get, okay? But that one I owned. This particular case here has quite a few memories in it. This car won a paint contest. This is my first model. This is the last one I did. This one has a kind of long story involved behind it between me and a fellow modeler. He sold it to somebody, and then somebody else kept it for a while, and then he gave it to somebody, and then I got it and redid it and stuck it on display. And one day he said to me, he says, "Boy, I used to have one just like that." And I says, "Yeah, well, that is yours." So that has that's just a Hilaire Bentley kit. A lot of people like that. They like those old cars. I always liked the Bentley, so had to have a model in my collection. Of particular interest in this case is this Lola T600, because it just happens to be the 600th car I built. I like doing this, the miniatures and the big ones. We call them the babies, the baby and the daddy. That's interesting. These two cars are Mitsubishi Lancers. One's the street car, the other one is the race car. I have an entire collection of Martini cars home, about 30 strong, but I happen to like that one in particular. Over here are some of the big scale cars I built. I have actually this car in 5 different scales, and that just happens to be the most impressive of the lot. Same company, 2 different scales. Also note the metal engine. Originally I bought the metal engine to put in this car and discovered the engine was so heavy it would have squashed the suspension, so the engine never got put in. This car is interesting because I went out of my way to duplicate the seat pattern. Those are all hand cut, okay, black and white tape. Extremely rare kit. It's part of my collection. It's a show car. It's a Dodge Charger 3. It's also a recent build. That one happens to be a die-cast, one of the few die-casts I brought up. That's Mario Andretti's Bronner Hawk that he won, the only Indy 500 win that he had. There's a couple of die-casts in this case. This one's a die-cast, and this is a die-cast that I modified. It's too bad on this one, the body panels are not off because tremendous amount of detail on that car. All the lines and hoses and everything. You can see, right inside, you can see the seat belts, so. Some more race cars. This is interesting. It's Mark Donahue's very first ride. The kit did not have Mark Donahue's name on it. I had to put that in there myself. This is a nice memory because myself and a model are out in California built the same car at the same time, and we, wound up taking, pictures back and forth. This is one of three I did at the same time. And of course, if you don't recognize it, that's Oscar Kovaleski's car that he drove. So.
So I just stopped buying it over every 5 years. These I paid full tilt for all these. It just kind of takes you out when you buy something like that for maybe $400, and then a year later, well, this one hasn't come out, but some of them they're trying to get rid of. This was $100 for a car you pay $350.
And literally, from this weekend is why I lived here.
So I bought most of my wholesale, but I understand that's a real problem because this was actually NASCAR. Okay. You cannot collect it. If the starting price is $200, and somebody like you pays $200 for it, and then a year later sees it on somebody's discount.
Reimagined, renamed, National Weekend.
Their service is not very good. Call out there, you get somebody who really doesn't know anything, and we'll call you back, and they'll call you back and say, you know what? Well, and then at the same time, I ran into CMC, it's like, these things are just unbelievable.
I see
Plus
the
that,
CMC piece.
their showroom is right down the road from the company that I managed in Rochester, New York, on Jefferson Road, so I went down and I said, well, now we're gonna do CMC.
You want to talk to the king?
I was asked how I got in interested in cars, and I think it's probably the fact that my father didn't have a car when I was growing up. And anytime I had a chance to go for a ride in a car with somebody, I jumped at the opportunity. And then my best friend and I, when we were like 12 years old, started building go-karts out of lawnmower engines and whatever. And then one day, another friend's mother was going to be in a powder puff derby in Waterloo, New York, at the Speedway that was open then. And he and I went down with his mother to that race. And I was hooked on racing from there on in. And then when I got out of the Navy in 1964, my brother used to come to the track here. And at the time, the Cobras were very, very popular. So my brother said, Dick, when you go down, look for the Cobras. And it got to the point where I could stand with my back to the track with fingers in my ears. And every time a Cobra went by, I could tell you, because your lungs were actually vibrating. And then eventually I started collecting inexpensive models, if you will, and just kept adding on and adding on. And all these cars here have a particular meaning to me. The Chaparrals used to watch these race all the time here at Watkins Glen. And I didn't know that they made a convertible GT40 until I saw one on the internet, and I bought that. These cars here, this is pretty interesting. The Mark Donahue 91730 on the rolling chassis. I was watching this car at the top of the S's at Watkins Glen one time, and smoke was rolling out of the back of it, and I thought it was going to blow up. And I found out later what it was is that this car, they could crank it up to like 1,500 some odd horsepower, and the wheel rims were actually spinning inside of the wheel rims before they realized that they could go ahead and do something to attach them, and that's where the smoke was coming from. Dan Gurney was always my hero, and that's where we get into the Cobras. This one here is the GT40 that A.J. Foot and Dan Gurney won the 24-hour Le Mans race to the chagrin of Enzo Ferrari in 1965. The Daytona Coupe, probably one of the prettiest cars that was ever made, and Fred Simeone with the Simeone Museum was here a few years ago to make a presentation, and then my wife and I went down and visited the museum, and he let me sit in this car that they have down there. It was the first one that was made, and it's still the way that it was when it was racing. It wasn't restored or anything. It's gorgeous. So you see a selection of Cobras, GT40s, Daytona Coupes.
This car here, I think, did like 241 miles an hour back in 1989, won the 24-hour Le Mans. Of course, you got the Sauber Mercedes and the rolling chassis. And these cars here, another GT40s, but they came in 1, 2, and 3 at Le Mans, France in 1966, the 24-hour race, to the chagrin again of Enzo Ferrari. I'm a Corvette guy. I have a Corvette, and so I bought these 4. And then this is a medallion that was offered by the museum, the Corvette Museum, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. It has a calendar on the back, so I had to have that. So I bought that and stuck it in between these cars here. The Pinots, which really I don't think ever did all that well racing, but it's such a beautiful car, I had to have that. Roger Penske is another fan. I'm a big fan of Roger Penske. I used to watch him race all the time. And this is a Grand Sport Corvette that he raced at Nassau back in 1963. Another 917. This one was signed by Vic Alford for me a couple of years ago here at the track. And they tell the story that that he was going around Le Mans at like 230 miles an hour in the rain. So I had to have that. I mentioned Dan Gurney. This was Dan Gurney. He filled in for Bruce McLaren and Dennis Holm when they were racing the Can-Am cars. I think he got in trouble because of that. The sponsor had an issue, but he raced this car, and I think he won some races in it. They talked about the birdcage at the event that we just attended where they were interviewing model car builders. And this car here, they made 600 of these in a limited edition signed by Dan Gurney, 600 of them signed by Sterling Moss. There's Dan's signature. This is number 1 of 600 in that collection. And this is a Steve McQueen 917 car that was in the movie right here. Your 935 Porsche driven by Hurley Haywood and Peter Gregg. And Hurley Haywood signed that one for me a couple of years ago when he was here with his team. This here is a Roger Penske Spider Porsche. I think it won every race it was in, so I had to have that. Danica Patrick, when I came down here, when IndyCar's first race here, I came down for the trials that they had, and I bought that car. Met Danica, bought that car that day. And this one here, Gordon Johncock, I can't say that he was a fan of mine, but he drove for Gurney, and he won the Indy 573 in this car. Of course, we know the sad story about Francois Sauvé here at Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, he was killed at the top of the S's, and this is a Francois Sauvé car. And his partner here, Jackie Stewart, when he unfortunately was killed at that race here, Jackie pulled out of the race. I'm not too sure he raced after that, but and then Mark Donahue, you have the Lola down there in the 917-30. The Lola is the number, well, they're both number 6s, but the Lola closest to me, that was a car that Donahue drove along with the 917-30. And he also drove the Sunoco Special. He won the Indy 500 in 1973 in this car here. Dan Gurney raced this car at Indianapolis. That's Dan Gurney. This is the first American Formula car built by an American, driven by an American, and won by an American. And that was at the Belgium Spa race in 1967. And this is another Gurney Eagle that he ran at Nürburgring. Mario Andretti. I met Mario at the airport in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where my wife and I lived for 15 years. And I ran into him in the airport. And I said, "Oh, you came to pick me up?" He laughed, but had a nice conversation with him. And that's Mario driving his Formula One Ferrari 312B. And so, like I said, when I go to bed at night, I turn off the TV. And before I turn off the lights in my man cave, which is about the size of this room, I walk around, I look at all of the cars. And the nice thing about it is I don't have to change the oil. I don't have to pay for insurance, tires. Then I get as much enjoyment out of looking at these as I would if I had the real thing. I do have a Corvette. I stare at that. And then down here at this end, there's a couple of things that are kind of neat. The number 32 here the Marmon Wasp. This won the first Indy 500 in 1911, and that full car is on display at the Indy Museum in Indianapolis, and that's pretty interesting. This car here, the Bugatti 135, they have a corner here in Watkins Glen called Milliken's Corner. This is the car. I had it signed by Bill Milliken when he was here on his 100th birthday. So I'm pretty proud of that. They call it Milliken Corner because he flipped his car at that corner in a race back in the late 40s, I guess it was. Then Auto Union. These things are just unbelievable. And I found this tower here. This is the Auto Union Tower, and it has the four or five different manufacturers here. You got the DKW, the Horse, the Audi, and I saw that on display at the gift shop at Sebring 3 years ago, and I had to have it, so there it is. And this was Henry Ford's first race car, the 999, driven by Barney Oldfield in 1904. And it set a land speed record in 1904 of 91.37 miles an hour. So, in any event, I'm through collecting, but I enjoy all the cars, except for when it comes time to clean them. And my wife says I don't clean them enough, but it's just a lot of fun, and it's not all that terribly expensive compared to having to buy the real thing. So, but I come to Watkins Glen all the time. I've been coming since 1964. Except for 30 years. I lived out of the area, but we would come back from time to time. And now I live just south of Geneva, and I make every event that they have down here. So just a great thing to be involved in.
Right here we've got some of our Bugattis. This is the Nation's Color project that I was talking about during the talk. This is the French Blue. This was the original one that we did. Then the green is the Great Britain. The red and white is Poland, and the red and yellow is Spain. We've got a couple Mercedes over here as well. The Targa Floria, 1924 car, was painted red because it was a Italian race, so the Italians threw rocks at the Mercedes drivers. So to avoid that, they painted it red. We've got the Streamliner here. That one is actually going to be re-released, the 1954 version, later this year. We're going to have the Reims versions, 18 car, the 20 car, and the 22 are all going to be produced as limited editions. I've got a couple Auto Unions here as well, Type C and the Type D. The Porsche, we have that. We used to have 5 different color variants of that, but now it's down to 4. The dark blue one is sold out. We've got some of our newer Ferraris are down here. This one here is the 312P Spider version that Mario Andretti and Chris Amon drove at the 12 Hours of Sebring. Placed second overall, first in their class, and then also have the Berlinetta version of the model. We've got the Transporter here that took the cars to the races. Both of the 2 and 4 are the hill cars. One is Monza and the other is Spa for the 1961 Grand Prix season that he took the World Championship. We've got the couple of the road cars, the Competizione, the 250 GT SWB. This one here is the 1961 Le Mans winner, first in its class, third overall. Then we have a bunch of the Testarossas, a couple famous Le Mans version as well. Ferrari F2, 500 F2, that one's the 1952-1953 season. And then over on the other table here, the engine that's on display there, that's the 312P engine. That's a 12-cylinder engine that went in the Spider that we also have, the Sebring version. And all the rivets on the back of that are all hand riveted. There's over 300 individual rivets on the back of that model. And over here we got some more Mercedes, Maseratis as well. All four of these cars here are actually from the 1955 Mille Miglia. The 722 was the race winner, Moss and Jenkins. And that's on the Transporter. The Transporter is actually going to be re-released this year as well. That was one of our popular models and sold out completely, and we're bringing it back. People that didn't get a chance to get it. The 658 is a Fangio. 701 was Kling, and the 704 was Hans Hermann. And then we also have the engine for those cars as a separate standalone model as well. And then we have a bunch of the different variations of the Maserati 300S that we made. This is the 1958 Le Mans version. Didn't finish Le Mans. It had a gearbox issue, I believe, that caused it to drop out of the race. Then we also have the rolling chassis, which just showcases the model without any of the body work over it, so you can see the detail that we try to put into all our models. And then right next to that one is the Maserati Birdcage, the Typo 61. That is the Moss and Gurney car that won Nürburgring. That one is also going to be re-released this year. And we're also going to do the same chassis of that car that won the 1960 Cuban Grand Prix is going to be re-released, or actually released this year. It's the 1960 Cuban Grand Prix that Moss won. Then we got a couple of our road cars. The Audi 225 Roadster. Audi had us do that model for their 100th anniversary. And the Ferrari California Spider, 61, we have that. The red is the unlimited edition, and then the black, silver, and blue are all the limited edition hard tops for that model. This one right here, the blue Bugatti Corsica, that one's a 1938. That one won Best in Show at Pebble Beach. That one's going to be our next model actually to be released. And then right next to it is the Bugatti Atlantic Type 57 SC. That also won Best in Show at Pebble Beach. Our company, you can call us directly right at 585-292-7280, or you can visit our website. It's cmcmodelcarsusa.com. Our company is headquartered in Stuttgart, Germany. All the engineering is done in Germany, and then the models go to our factory in mainland China, which actually hand assembles all the models. And they average roughly about 1,500 individual parts for the models. The big transporters, they have about 3,000 parts in them. So they try to get them as detailed as possible, use the best materials, genuine leather for the seats, and try to make a museum quality model that sit on your shelf and everyone can enjoy.
I've been collecting these since the 30s as a child up till now. I usually collect the kind of thing that I'm familiar with as a result of racing myself back in the 50s and 60s. And we enjoy collecting this quite a bit. This particular model in the box here that's a Marx Classic comes with a little set of miniature tools that you see wrapped up behind the car. So you can remove the wheels and the kids can play with the parts and reassemble it, so forth. There's some German toys here. This particular Mercedes is still in the original box here, and that has never been played with. So it's in pretty good shape. This is a distler that is key wound and does a number of things and has a a transmission, and it has a handbrake, and it got a lot of play value in it. The 917 Porsche next to it is a Schuko, German make, and that is also a wind-up. And that pretty much owned sports car racing for a while. The Sunbeam Land Speed record car is very accurate replica of the real car, which is currently still in the Bewley Museum in England. A Dopke MGTD, built by a firm, Dopke Manufacturing Company. It's spelled Doepke. They made only 2 automobiles. This one and Jaguar XK120 down at the end of the table. And everything else that they built was mostly construction equipment, large bulldozers and things like that. So, the particular racer that's up here on the bench was made in 3 variations. That's a Japanese model. It was made by a Yonezawa company to replicate the winning car of the 1952 Indianapolis 500, driven by Troy Ruttman. The first edition was labeled Agajanian Special, but they neglected to get permission to use the name Agajanian, so that's a very short run. And this is the second version. The third version is a little bit smaller in scale, but it's pretty much the same thing. Has simulated Hallebrand wheels and so forth. The Shark model here is an electric-powered tether racer. They went fairly fast, but not as fast as the gasoline-powered ones that were called Spin Dizzies. Some more Japanese models here, the Citroën and the Volvo, and there's a Saab. Those are all Japanese series that came out shortly after the war. Most of these are from the 50s. And there is a Jim Beam whiskey container here that represents an Indianapolis car, a Sidewinder. This group of small tin plate toys are from actually the Lines Company in England was formed in 1889, and they started to bring this type of thing into the United States and North America in the early 50s. And they are geared individually for the type of car they are. The race cars go quite fast. Something like the Jeep is slow, but will go anywhere. And the steamroller that's in the back actually goes backwards 3 feet, stops, and then goes forward another 3 feet. So those are all wind-up cars. But we really enjoy being here and taking part in this event to promote the Research Center. Thank you very much.
This is my latest work in progress right here. This is a model of Jimmy Champine's Oswego Speedway rear-engine super modified car that Jimmy ran back in the late 1970s. As you can see, the body's made out of aluminum. Plastic frame. I try to keep mostly with plastic. There's a lot of resin cast parts that I've got into resin casting now on this car. As you can see by the off-colored is the resin cast parts on it. I've got about 500 hours into it so far. Probably about that much more to go before it's finished. Hopefully by next year I'll have it done. This car here is the last one I completed. This is a winged super modified. They run Oswego and the ISMA circuit, different circuits. Again, all plastic tubing frame, aluminum body. You can see the tires on this one these are the balsa wood tires that I build. Lots of resin cast parts on this also. This one took me probably about 1,500 hours to complete.
How do you start?
Start?
Do you start with photographs of the car, or visiting it personally, or measurements? Or?
This one, not, because I didn't have anything to measure from. This was my own idea. You know, from working on the supers, I know what's involved in them, know what's in them. So I, just drew this one up on my own and laid the frame out right on top of the drawings is how I do it. And then go from there, starting with the motor, suspension parts. This is the one that I guess you could say started it all. This one's almost 20 years old now. This was the first attempt. Again, plastic frame, aluminum body. This is where I came up with the idea for the balsa wood tires to make them lightweight. Pretty much a copy of Mike Muldoon's Super Modified that I worked on at the time and built bodies for. This is a pretty close replica to it. Here is I guess you'd call it a World of Outlaws style dirt sprint car. This was the second car that I built after the Super Modified. Aluminum body, balsa wood tires. Actually, the tail tank is made out of basswood on this car. And aluminum, yeah, like I said, aluminum body.
How do you build a seat that detailed?
It's built out of, I actually think this seat's built out of plastic. It's a lot of measurements, a lot of looking in magazines. Get a lot of ideas from Open Wheel magazine on this car, especially over the years, back when I built this car. Got a lot of suspension ideas and whatnot on it.
You even have an authentic tread pattern.
Yeah, the tread pattern is actually individual pieces of plastic cut out and glued to the balsa wood tire. There is, I think, close to 700 pieces of plastic on the right rear tire alone. And finally, this is kind of a combination of a dirt asphalt modified that I built many years ago. It's kind of something a little different that I come up with a all-enclosed body. And again, all aluminum body, balsa wood tires, plastic frame.
Fuel cell?
Fuel cell in the rear, under the opening trunk lid.
How many times a year do you get to take these out on display?
Not that often, really. I usually take the newest one I build to a couple of different model car shows, but there's so few, so many years between it when I finish a build, so I don't get to a lot of the model car shows.
Are you still involved at Oswego Speedway?
Yeah, actually I am. After this show is over, I've got to go back and start putting a body on a Super Modified before the season starts.
Whose car?
It's going to be for Danny Connors Jr. They're building a new Super Modified, and they've asked me to build the bodies for him.
If somebody wanted to get started building models and from scratch like you do rather than from kit, where would they even look or start? Who would they call, or what website would you go to? It's not like you can just buy a kit of one of these cars.
No, that's kind of a tough question. I guess it would depend on what car you were looking to build. And I know there is a lot more parts available, even on this scale, where you can buy parts and, to put on cars like this. But a lot of it's just, it's, like I said, it's all scratch built and, starting with an idea, I guess.